right. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for joining us on another edition here of Extreme Health Radio. And it is just such an amazing spring day here in Southern California, isn't it?
Absolutely gorgeous.
We're just talking off the air. I love this time of year. It's so great.
The promise of summer.
The promise of summer.
Everything warm. The jasmine is smelling. It's just gorgeous.
Oh, you know what I liked about the Hannah Crum show? She does her seasons by the flowers. Remember that?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It's like hydrangea season and
jasmine season.
Jasmine season. I like that. Better than spring and summer and fall. You go by the flowers. I like
fall
that.
would be pumpkin season for me.
Yeah.
Not a flower, but love pumpkin.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're currently broadcasting worldwide from Southern California, so it's an honor to be sharing this information with you. And we do short shows 4 days a week on every day except for Tuesday. And it's really an honor to be sharing this information with you. And it's just so great, getting such great feedback. So I wanted to also let you know that we're on Facebook. If you'd like to follow us on there, extremehealthradio.com/Facebook. And it would be great to have you join our growing community. That would be excellent. And I want to thank Mike Adams of naturalnewsradio.com for having us on his amazing network. And his website's great, naturalnews.com. And Mike Adams is doing great work. And so I want to thank him for that. And just for reference, today is April 18th, 2013. We just escaped tax day by 3 days. That was nice. It's always good to get through that. So this is episode number 89. So you can check it out at extremehealthradio.com/89. And on that show, you'll find all of the notes from the interview and the transcription in time and anything that Adam mentions. And let's see. You can contact us if you like, Justin at extremehealthradio.com or
Kate at extremehealthradio.com. And I'm excited to say I have my first few emails. I'm very excited.
Yes, it's fun.
Thank you.
It's really great fun. And also, we're attempting to try a new system on our website. If you're interested in sending a voicemail, you could just go to extremehealthradio.com/voicemail and record a question to our guest that we can play live on the air, and you can do that right from your computer. So just go to that link and it'll tell you how to do that. And I want to let you know this show is brought to you by Amazon.com. If you ever purchase from Amazon and want to support our work, that would be a great way to do it. It's easy, and you can support us every time you make a purchase, and you don't even need to buy anything that's health related. You could buy a bed or a pair of shoes or anything. And that would be a great way to support us. You can do so at extremehealthradio.com/Amazon, and that will just redirect you to their page and make your purchase, and that will support our work. And we've got some great guests coming up on Monday, April 22nd. We've got Carl O'Helvey, and his website's beatlungcancer.net, and he's the oldest living lung cancer survivor, as far as I know, in the world. He was diagnosed with lung cancer terminal in 1974, I think.
Wow.
An amazing story he's got. So that would be a good interview. And he's done it all through nutrition. Pretty cool stuff. And on Wednesday, April 24th, we've got Timothy Hickey of friendsofwater.com. So if you're interested in some cutting edge water filtration systems, make sure to check out that show. And then on Thursday, April 25th, we have Daniel Vitalis again, and that will be a fun show. And he's a wild guy, talks about rewilding yourself.
Wild guy.
And today we've got Adam Bergstrom. He's our first guest that we have on for the second time, and it's fitting because he's one of the most amazing guys that you'll ever hear, and he's got such a unique take on diet and nutrition, and he's been teaching workshops and seminars around the United States since 1977, and he's got over 50 years of experience in health and nutrition, and he's been counseling people with various disease and ailments since the 70s. And he's an expert in nutrition, chronobiology, reflexology, iridology, meditation, and all kinds of other different holistic modalities. And he graduated from O'Donnell Lay's Texas Institute of Reflex Sciences in 1979. And so it's an honor to have him back. And thanks, Adam, for sitting through all of the introduction there. I felt like that was 25 minutes.
Thanks for having me on, Jason and Kate. Spring is sprung, the grass is riz. I wonder where the birdies is.
I love it. Wow. So you were saying before the show that you're up in
Montecito.
Montecito, right?
Montecito. It's basically part of Santa Barbara. It's just up in the hills, a little bit to the east.
Okay.
Beautiful. I have been there. It's gorgeous.
It is a beautiful place. Well, a lot of nice beaches here, and I'm sure you have nice beaches down there too.
Excellent beaches. And is that up near the wine country? Is that where that is? No?
That's a little bit north. There was a movie made about the wine company. I am not remembering the name right now. That was made. That was very popular, and it toured the area north of here, Santa Ynez and all that. That's wine company country.
Okay. Wow.
And Santa Barbara we have some wineries here too.
Yeah. Gorgeous
place. So prior,
it is. Of course, the real wine country is further up north of San Francisco, Sonoma, in that area.
Right.
So do you still travel around and give seminars and lectures and things?
I used to. I've been pretty confined now. My significant other broke her ankle about 5 months ago. And the doctors, of course, said it's impossible to not have a bunch of plates and screws and all the paraphernalia put in there. Mm-hmm. But she beat it. So, but she's recuperating from the ankle. 3 breaks and no plates or anything.
Wow.
It's all healing by itself.
What were some of the ways that you did some healing on that?
Well, we used bone-building formulas. We ate solar. And there's lots of elements that build bone. Uh-huh. One of the most important parts of bone is protein. When they grind down cow bones, they don't sell it as calcium supplements. They sell it as gelatin. So most of what bone is made out of is protein, not calcium. But calcium does help, and silicone helps, and boron, vanadium. There's a lot of trace elements that go into building bone.
Yeah, most people think it's just calcium. If they take enough calcium, they'll be okay. And it seems like a lot of people, what they're doing is just taking those really rock-hard calcium supplements. That's probably not doing too much for their bones, I would imagine, right?
It actually is responsible for arteriosclerosis. Mm. The excess calcium doesn't get handled. It has to be handled by the kidney, and the bone doesn't use it, except as the Swami I studied with, Swami Nitty Gritty, put it, have you ever seen a limestone bridge? A limestone bridge would not support any vehicles going over it because it would collapse. So obviously you need iron in the structure and other things in the support system. And protein is very strong. You know, a spider's web has more tensile power than steel. So, and it's made out of protein. So protein is where the strength comes from in bone, and the flexibility too, because too much calcium actually ages a person prematurely.
Wow. Yeah, you know, it's interesting about the whole calcium thing. David Wolf, who is just an amazing kind of a raw food guy, I'm sure you're familiar with him and his work. He's doing a lot of work with calcium these days and nanobacteria, and showing the relation between, you know, calcium and all kinds of arthritic diseases and all kinds of real disease in general. And it sounds like you're kind of saying the same thing as far as what excess calcium can do.
Yes, it's about balance. And, of course, magnesium and a lot of other elements go into bone and to balance the calcium out. Uh-huh. As long as the body is balanced, and that's 3 times a day, too. That's the timing aspect. That timing also goes yearly. We tend to get more acid or alkaline by season. We get more acid alkaline during the day. We start off more acidic, end up more alkaline. And then sleep or meditation regenerates us, makes us more acidic, so we can start the day and alkalize ourselves again.
Wow. So the whole idea of being too alkaline is not necessarily a good thing.
Not necessarily, no. It's balance. It's the razor's edge. You start off on the acidic side, which is how we build tissue, and then when we break down tissue, it's alkaline. And of course, for life to proceed, we need to break down our body to replace it with new cells. The scientists call that apoptosis. Uh-huh. It's a fancy word for cells get broken down and new ones replace them on a regular basis. You know, some cells replace themselves, like in the mouth. hourly.
Wow.
Wow.
Other cells take a day or 2 or 3, and of course we pretty much build a new body within 7 or 8 years. Think of our body as a whirlpool. When you see a whirlpool, like in your bathtub drain, it looks like a solid thing, but actually the water is changing second by second. Our body works something like that, especially at the atomic level. It's very much like a whirlpool.
Wow. So my question, I guess, is certain parts of the body, like you said, the mouth and I believe your eyes, these things heal faster than other parts of the body. Why is that?
They even can age at different rates. There was a lady that some of her parts are aging so fast and some are staying so young that she's a medical mystery. But our body can do that. And, of course, the most regenerative organ in our body is the liver. Scientists know you can lose 80% of it and still regenerate the whole thing. And I even know of a case where someone lost 99% of their liver function. They were on the transplant list. There was no chance of them regenerating their liver. They had an emotional healing with their father, and their liver completely regenerated.
Wow.
That person is out jogging and enjoying life today.
Wow, that does not surprise me at all.
Wow.
That's amazing. So you have a lot of ebooks on your website, and I'm not sure if I mentioned your website if people are interested, solarman111.com. And you have this really interesting. You've got a book that's called The Nitrogen Theory of Cancer, and then one called The Transdental Mastication. What is that one about?
Yeah. Well, the nitrogen theory of cancer comes from John Beard. He was a gynecologist who noticed that there's a type of cancer called choriocarcinoma.
Uh-huh.
And it's the fastest moving cancer of all. If a pregnant woman gets it, both her and her unborn child are dead within 1 week of getting it.
Wow.
And he noticed that cancers had aging, and that the later stage you got the cancer, the easier it was to deal with it. So scientists today, if they went on that same track, could actually time or find out what time the cancer was and use the appropriate drug. That's what the establishment science would do. Of course, in the natural field, you would use natural products and herbs and foods to do the same thing.
So cancer actually...
The timing of the cancer is important, and in fact, the pancreas turns on at 56 days in the womb. If it doesn't turn on, the result is choriocarcinoma. So the pancreas is actually the organ that controls and regulates cancer in the human body.
So cancer actually has a time to it that's attached to it, just like everything else.
Yes, it does. In fact, it does most of its feeding at midday. So a person with cancer would do better to fast at that time, or at the very least drink something like wheatgrass juice. The nitrogen is what kills cancer, raw nitrogen. Now, nitrites and nitrates are similar to nitrogen, but so similar, it's like a key in a lock that's so similar that it jams in the lock, causes more problems than being different. So nitrogen in green foods and fruit and vegetables, especially raw, because nitrogen denatures when you cook it. People don't realize that when they cook a steak or cook their meat, the protein or the nitrogen is actually destroyed. So strangely enough, you can get more amino acids out of raw tomatoes and raw bananas than you can out of beefsteak. A beefsteak tomato, ironically, has more amino acids than a beefsteak.
Wow. So you are into something called Dextran Ization. Can you explain a little bit about what that is? And that is like a certain type of cooking, right? Of potatoes, I think, and things?
Yes, it basically converts your sugar in your body or in the food to a high-test fuel, a high-octane fuel. Now, all you have to do to demonstrate dextranization and to taste the difference between a dextranized food and a non-dextranized one any of your listeners can do this. Tonight, because potatoes are better eaten at night, bake 2 of them. Put one in foil, aluminum foil, and bake it that way, and the other one leave out of the foil and bake it that way. When they're both out, taste from both of them. You will notice an immense difference. The one out of the foil will taste much better, and it's much better for you. The one in the foil is technically a steamed potato, and it doesn't have the same high-test fuel effect as the one that is dextranized. Plus, it tastes much better, too.
So a dextranized potato is something that you do where you cook the potato, but only up to like a couple hundred degrees. Is that right?
No, you can actually bake the potato at 500. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can dextranize it at low heat or high heat. A lot of times we will take sweet potatoes here and dextranize it at about, or cook it about 200 degrees and cook it most of the day.
Wow.
And then you preserve some of the enzymes. A lot of enzymes are destroyed at low heat, and you preserve more enzymes that way. Now, we get most of our enzymes from raw foods, so it's not that critical to bake a potato at 300 degrees or 375.
Wow.
But we do make our sweet potatoes quite slower. However, if we're running behind in time, we simply stick them in at 350, something like that. Wait an hour or so and eat those sweet potatoes or baked potatoes.
You know, something I wanted to find out from you, what is your diet like? What kinds of foods? I know that you obviously eat food on time, but what kinds of food are you eating these days?
It varies, and the beauty about solar nutrition is you can be macrobiotic, you can be whatever you are. All that solar nutrition indicates that you eat it on time. Now, Swami Nitty Gritty said it was important in the morning to have a protein, a carbohydrate, and a lipid or fat in your meals to make it a complete meal, and also to have an iron food and a vitamin C food to move it. So I would get my protein out of almonds. That would be the most important protein I eat in the morning.
Okay.
And then I would have one prune, which would give me the iron, and then I might have a kiwi or a mango or a peach or something high in vitamin C, a cherry, for instance, that would move the iron. Because iron will not be absorbed and utilized and eliminated properly unless it's combined with vitamin C. In fact, vitamin C is not vitamin C until it becomes an iron chelate. Just like vitamin B12 is chelated cobalt, true vitamin C is chelated iron.
Wow. So you're eating lots of raw food, but not only raw food, but lots of raw foods are in your diet these days?
These days I am. I'm eating much more. And in the morning, I will start out with almonds. I'll have one or two of a variety of nuts, Brazil nut, hazelnut, a cashew or two, some pine nuts, and macadamia nut. And then I'll have maybe a churramoya. It's in season here now. An apple, and or a slice of apple, and half an avocado, sharing it with my significant other. So,
that's a good man.
And sometimes I'll have smaller breakfasts, like if here we're eating really well. We have a farmers market nearby, so we're eating high on the hog. All raw food mostly.
I love that, high on the hog. Adam, we got to take a short break here. It's Adam Bergstrom's on our call here today, and his website is solarman111.com, and he's a fascinating guy. And make sure to check out his website for all these amazing ebooks that you can get on his site. And it's really an honor to have him back on. And we're going to do a little spot here for the sauna, and we'll be right back after this break. So rebounding is, in my mind, one of the best ways to detoxify your lymphatic system, and it's the only exercise on earth that will actually detoxify your lymphatic system. And your lymph system is responsible for storing toxins and chemicals and poisons that you're exposed to. And there's no pump for the lymph system. It doesn't have a heart, so you have to move it up and down, and it's filled with millions of one-way valves that get squeezed and pushed and opened and closed every time you jump. And we feel like we've found the best rebounder on the market today. It's the Rolls Royce of rebounding. It's called the Bellicon. And I highly, highly stand behind this product. It's absolutely amazing. If you want to hear what some of our guests said about it, check them out on our store. You can listen to what a lot of our guests have said about rebounding, and the Bellicon in particular. So a lot of times people will go on the rebounder with oxygen for cancer if they're really sick. And it's one of the most powerful things you can do to cleanse your body and to exercise every single cell in your body, every organ in your body. It's the only internal organ exercise you could do. And it's absolutely incredible. It also helps to rebuild bone density because of the up and down motion, the G-force that gets applied to every cell of your body, and it tightens and tones your body, and it's just really, really great aerobic exercise. And the Bellicon is made with straps, these bungee cords instead of springs, so it's silent, and they have a warranty on it. It's the best rebounder on the market today. So if you're in the market for one, I would highly recommend just saving up and getting the Bellicon, because there's no other rebounder on the market that's better than this thing. I firmly believe that. So if you're interested in it, check it out, extremehealthradio.com/Bellicon. That's B as in boy, ELLICON. And you can learn more about it and watch the videos on that page too. So thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy your rebounder, and we'll catch you on the next episode. All right, we're having a good time. Welcome back to the show with Adam Bergstrom, and having a good time here. I just got off the rebounder for about 1 minute myself during the break. It's a good time and way to wake up here with the rebounder. So, Adam, I wanted to ask you too. It's interesting. My wife and I, Kate, were just talking about you the other day, and your whole approach to diet and nutrition is interesting, because it almost seems like for people like you, and we talked to some other people that are this way as well, it almost seems like the diet and the nutrition that they're involved with really is a means to an end. It's a means to something greater in life, right? Like it's a means to fulfill our purpose in life and things like that. And it seems like diet and nutrition isn't just the end-all be-all for you as it is with some people. And I was just wondering if what your thoughts were on that.
The type of eating I do, solar nutrition, is actually a type of meditation. And it's a spiritual path, because one thing that people notice when they eat solar is their timing gets much better, their synchronicity. And synchronicity is a sign of spiritual evolution. As the Swami I studied with, Swami Nitty-Gritty, or Adonal Lay, he said that the proof of timing is the synchronicity. The timing of the daily events of your life is the proof that creative consciousness is directing your existence. So when you desire, like a glass of pineapple juice, someone might show up at your door with a bottle of pineapple juice just at the time you need it. And that's how synchronicity works. Many times I've had an exact amount of money show up, photo finish, at the time I needed to pay a bill.
Wow.
And that Swami Nitty-Gritty called photo finish.
Wow. Do you think there's any connection between like how our cells are resonating and it's inside our body because of the food we eat and things like that happen in life?
You are what you eat, we know that, but you are when you eat too. So when you take those two factors in, yes. Because you can only, whatever a building is made out of its construction material, is going to be the quality of that building. And when it's built and when it operates is important too. A nightclub operates at a different time than a health food store, or like a milkman would get up at a different time of day, or a farmer would get up at different times of day. Now, strangely, establishment chronobiology, which is basically the science of timing that they deal with, they have designated that if you wake up early at 3 in the morning, it is now a disease. That means that every farmer in the world has a disease when they get up at 3 or 4 in the morning to go milk their cows and feed their chickens.
Well, what does that mean? It's actually a disease.
Well, they have said if you wake up at 3 in the morning, you actually have a disease because your clock is advanced. Now, all around the world, meditators wake up at 3 to 5 in the morning. 4 o'clock is basically the sweet spot for meditation. At that time, your brain is in a natural theta wave, and all you have to do is make a light putt, to use a golfing analogy, into the hole. You don't have to make a long drive into higher consciousness. That's why people all over the world get up at 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning. Even 2:30 is the ideal time to get up and meditate.
Wow.
You hear the sound current much more readily at that time, something called the audible life stream. If you meditate at that time in the morning, and you can direct the sound current to your right ear, and you will get spiritual evolution.
Wow. Do you get up that time every day, or do you... What kinds of...
Not recently, but I have done that, and when I do that, I reap the benefits.
Wow.
Now, Paramahansa Yogananda, who used to operate down your way there, he said, it's good to get up early in the morning and meditate, but don't use that as an excuse not to meditate.
Oh, I see.
Do people that wake up and meditate, when you did for a while too, do you go back to sleep, or are you up for the day? Is it starting?
You can go back to sleep. Once you sleep at proper times and eat solar, you do need less sleep. Ideally, the best time to sleep is 10 at night till 3 in the morning. Unfortunately, with our swing shifts and different shifts like that, we run the chance of getting certain diseases. You can... It's like knowing that it's going to rain outside, you bring an umbrella. So people who do shift work need to know ways to protect themselves when they're doing that. If a person isn't well, I advise them, get a day job and don't work at nights. If you're really healthy, you can take it and do your night job. Or if you know certain meditational tricks or nutritional tricks and really know what you're doing, then there's nothing wrong with a night job.
Yeah.
The worst shift is when you have what they call split shifts, where you'll work a day shift 1 week and then a mid shift in between, and then a really late shift, and then switch back and forth. That plays havoc with our biological clock.
Yeah, people just don't get used to that kind of swings, those kinds of swings in their schedules, do they?
Nor should they, probably.
Yeah.
And they run extra risks of cancer. I heard you mention that on your Friday show, and that's absolutely true. You run chances of, statistically, of getting diseases. Now, Swami Nitty-Gritty used to say, the cosmic initiate doesn't live a life of statistics. They live the life of the exception to the rule.
Oh.
So not everybody who works the night shift will die of cancer.
Wow.
And many can be perfectly healthy as long as they know how to calibrate their brain and keep in time with the environment. You mentioned also on your Friday show about the rhythm of the earth that we can synchronize to, the Schumann resonance it's called. And indeed, by timing to the natural cycles of nature, including the light cycle, probably the most important, and the food cycle. Chronobiologists know a lot about the light cycle, and now they're discovering that the food cycle is just as important. Your heart is most active at noon, so it has a whole bunch of light genes in it, genes that work with timing of the light. Now, your liver time is 1 to 3 in the morning. It doesn't have many light time clocks. It has food clocks in it, And most of the food process in your body is done late at night. That's why it's a really good idea to be either asleep or meditating at 1 to 3 in the morning. The Swami I studied with didn't sleep at all, so he would meditate at that time of night.
Wow. That's just...
Do you sleep pretty true to that right now yourself?
I vary. At one time I got down to 1 or 2 hours of sleep, but lately I'm dealing with some issues, so my sleep has gotten... I need more sleep than I do usually.
Oh.
You know, do you think there's much that can be made about that statistic that I heard? I think it was in that book, Dead Doctors Don't Lie. And I think it was in there where they talked about how the time that people get heart attacks is statistically 9 a.m. on a Monday morning. I'm sure there's something there, right, with the time that people have heart attacks?
The heart attack that occurs at 8 in the morning is actually a pericardium attack. There's a difference between a true heart attack and a pericardium attack. A true heart attack is the typical businessman's heart attack, occurs during heart time, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. The pericardium attack occurs either at 8 at night or at 8 in the morning. It's related to breakfast when you have an 8 o'clock one, and to dinner when you have an 8 o'clock at night one. And the other classic so-called heart attack occurs at lung time from 3 to 5 in the morning. And actually, it isn't a heart attack. It's the lung, since it's lung time, the lung basically shuts down, doesn't deliver oxygen to the heart, and the person dies of a heart attack. Now, a midnight heart attack is actually a gallbladder attack. And when you give a person oxygen at that time of night, you actually kill them. You need to prime it with carbon dioxide, similar to the Buteyko method of breathing, where you need carbon dioxide to absorb the oxygen. So when people have a heart attack at night and the emergency team comes out, they often kill the person by giving them the wrong treatment, by not giving them carbon dioxide to prime the pump before oxygen. Midday heart attacks, no problem. All the standard heart attack techniques work.
So would a medical team, if you were to make a call, if a family member was having a heart attack or something and they show up and you were to tell them this, would they continue on with their normal standard of procedure that they're used to, or would they look at you like you're crazy? Or
they would save many more lives if they primed the pump. One way to prime the pump is put a paper bag over your head, breathe some of your carbon dioxide in, then they could supply the oxygen. Another way is if a person is having a heart attack at night, they rub the left side of their chest, and that will activate the carbon dioxide or the oxygen reflex and give them more oxygen.
Oh, man, this is such good stuff to know.
Wow, that's fascinating. So
in the middle of the day, you work the person's chest right in the middle, just like when they pump the person's chest, when they rub it to stimulate the heart. But at night, that doesn't work. You need to go over to the left, to the pulmonary artery, which is on the side of the chest, the left side.
So that will actually help to stimulate carbon dioxide inside the body.
Exactly, because strangely enough, we can't absorb our oxygen without carbon dioxide. So it's a necessary process. In other words, we don't breathe because of oxygen deprivation. We breathe because of too much or excess carbon dioxide. And so when you hold your breath, say you hold it for a minute, you'll find yourself breathing really heavily, and you'll get much more oxygen supply. Speakers know this trick. If you hold your breath for a minute or so, your voice box will be much louder and more resonant because your throat and vocal cords will fill with oxygen that wouldn't normally be oxygenated.
Wow, jeez. So I got to ask you, where are you coming up with all this information? You must be reading all day or studying all day or something, doing research, right?
I have been the phantom of the library many times, but you will find when you eat solar, some of this stuff gets downloaded into your brain. Swami Nitty-Gritty got all of his books by using his brain like a variable capacitor. That means you turn your radio in your car to different channels, and you can get any channel you want. Most people use their brain like a tape recorder, which limits it to the information that they already have stored and may not be up to date. Well, if you're turning your radio on, you're getting what's happening right now. You're living in the now. Wow. When you listen to a tape recording, you're listening to something that happened in the past.
Wow, and that makes sense that we would be living in the past and doing all that stuff, because most of what we think is recycled, just stuff that we think every single day. And it's interesting, if you use your mind like a receiver, like a radio receiver, like you're just talking about, that means that you could just be driving along and you get different things of inspiration. Like I heard the author of the Harry Potter book was actually just in a train, I think, traveling across Europe, and the whole story of Harry Potter just came to her in a split second. And so you're talking about instances of inspiration that can happen in people as they're driving down the road or anything like that, right?
Exactly. Now, the word inspiration is very interesting. It means an inspiration of breath, and expiration is the opposite. So we tend to get our inspiration much more readily if we get up and meditate from 3 to 5 in the morning. In fact, we get our inspiration whether we meditate or not by being awake at that time of the morning.
Wow.
So it's a really good time to access the genius level of the brain, or spiritually evolve, whichever a person wishes to do. There's no judgment in whether a person prefers to be a genius or a swami.
Hey, why not be both?
A swami genius.
A swami genius. So now, also, this could be good for inspiration and creativity, right? If people want to create something in this world, or maybe do another job and put energy and resources and their mind to certain things, and they need creative inspiration, this would be a good thing for them to look into as well, right?
Yes, our brain has two hemispheres. One is for linear thinking, that's the tape recorder part of us, and the right brain is the part that works like an AM radio or an FM radio. Both are necessary. The color orange stimulates the tape recorder part of our body, and the color turquoise stimulates the radio receiver part,
really?
and transceiver and receiver part of our brain.
Wow. So how does that work with the colors?
So if you wish to download information, surround yourself with the color turquoise. The Navajo and the Hopi knew that. And if you wish to learn information, the color orange, and indeed the color yellow and the color brown help assimilate information. The color brown helps us ground that information as we get it, as we read it. So if you're studying a book and wish to learn for a test, the color orange stimulates that part of the brain.
Wow. Now, do you have a whole list of these colors on your website or in one of your ebooks? Because this is just really interesting.
It's in my book on color that I have there. It's an ebook on color. And the funny thing about color, it actually is an indicator of trauma in the human body. Everybody, once you transcend color, you go to the clock chakra, which is number 4, the heart chakra. The lower mind is actually a colored part of our brain. That's why when you go to a therapist, you go to be cleared. You don't go to be colored of a trauma. You go to be cleared of the trauma and to become transparent. Think of that word, transparent, beyond the genetics that your parents provided you with, so you actually escape your karma that way.
Wow, all from
because
color.
Karma is passed on through the genes, and you can bypass the genes and become transgenetic, meaning you link to the environment. The very word religion means religiar, to bind back to the environment, to rebind yourself. But what do you rebind yourself to? The environment that you were created out of.
Wow. That's so wild. We were just talking with Dr. Bradley Nelson a couple days ago, and he was talking about the emotions and how they play a role in our physiology and our disease cycles and our healing and things. And he was talking about how some of these emotions can be translated through different generations. And so you can go back, he said he went back to the 1500s with some of the emotional issues that he was able to figure out on himself. And it's just really fascinating how colors affect the brain and how emotions affect the brain. And this is just really interesting information.
Yes, color is a way of finding out what the emotion is. If a person wears what they wear in their wardrobe is an indication of their trauma level. If a person has a very well-balanced wardrobe, you know that they don't have many traumas. But if you see a whole bunch of green or a whole bunch of gray or a whole bunch of black and no magenta or none of this color, various colors, then you can tell what the trauma is. A person is either overly attracted to a color or overly repelled by a color. One sedates the person so that they don't fulfill their life purpose or what they wish to do, and the other, they reject it, which causes just as much problem. The aura that people talk about in your body is actually the colors that you're rejecting, because we're meant to be transparent. It's called the diamond body, and not have color in it that leads to heat breakdown and aging. If you put clear glass, or if you have light go through an ice cube, it will not melt from the heat. Only if there's impurities in that ice and any kind of discoloration, then the heat will be attracted into the ice and melt it. Otherwise, light will go right through the ice cube. In the same way, if you ever hold a diamond in your hand or touch it to your tongue, it's icy cold because it does not attract heat. And heat is what is called breakdown or entropy in the human body. So ironically, the colored parts of our body break us down.
Wow. God.
Whoa.
This is really interesting. We got to take another break. I want to get into this a little more at the next segment, where we're talking about maybe some anti-aging things and things like that. We're with Adam Bergstrom, solarman111.com, and make sure to check out his website because he's got a lot of great stuff on there. Zone 1 foods, and he's got Zone 2 foods and Zone 3 foods, and it really breaks down all of the chronobiotic nutrition right there on his website, as well as all of his ebooks. He's got lots of great stuff on there. So a lot of them are relatively cheap, $4 and $5. And so check out his website, solarman111.com. And we'll be right back with Adam Bergstrom right after this break. So there's no real way to avoid toxins or chemicals in our daily life. It seems like we're exposed to them no matter what we do in our lives, from paint fumes to mercury fillings, coal-fired plants, perfumes, soaps, off-gassing of carpets in our houses, and genetically modified foods, and foods that are sprayed with pesticides and herbicides, the xenoestrogens in plastics and car exhaust, secondhand smoke, even your dry cleaning and laundry detergents, even your mattresses have chemicals inside them that outgas. So getting these toxins and chemicals and poisons out of your bloodstream and out of your fat cells is going to be really critical moving forward in our society, because it seems like every year there's more and more chemicals that keep becoming introduced with new products in the market. So I would consider getting one of these far infrared saunas. We've got a great sauna developed by Phil Wilson, and I've known about his work for many, many years, and I'm so proud to be offering his sauna on our website. And he's been in this business since 1975. And this sauna is really great because it slows the aging process. It helps with weight loss and burning calories. I think you can burn like 600 calories in 15 or 20 minutes, and it helps to cleanse the skin. It improves your sleep and helps to prevent illnesses like flus and colds, as well as energizing the body. And it's great for improving blood circulation and promoting cellular renewal, as well as increasing metabolism and inducing profuse sweating. And it's really, really great. And the great thing is, too, is you don't produce any lactic acid. So you can sweat without producing any of this lactic acid that you would normally produce if you lifted weights or went for a big, long run. So if you're interested in this, you can check it out, extremehealthradio.com/sauna. It's great because it sets up in about 2 to 5 minutes, and it's portable, and it's super easy to clean. It's got low electromagnetic field radiation coming off of it. and it produces energy and heat inside the sauna evenly. It's great machine. So if you're interested in sweating like this for only 15 minutes a day, it's great. It requires 0 preheating. It's got a 1-year warranty, and Phil Wilson is a great guy. We're so proud to be offering his saunas on our website. So if you're interested, check it out, extremehealthradio.com/sauna, or you could check it out in our store, and it's $990 plus $25 shipping. And that's really a good deal because many of the saunas out there, you can check them out. They're in the thousands of dollars, $2,000 to $4,000. So this is great. You can buy it through PayPal. You don't even need a PayPal account. It's 100% secure. So consider doing this if you're interested in living a long, healthy, disease-free life. So check it out, extremehealthradio.com/sauna. I'm a little out of breath. I was doing the rebounder again, Kate. I got a good 2 minutes there of rebounding.
Not a minute wasted with you.
We're having a good time here with Adam Bergstrom and his website, solarman111.com. And if you'd like to participate in the show, we'd love to have you send us a voicemail. In the future, we're going to be working towards doing a live show where we can take calls and things, but we need to buy some more equipment for that and improve the shows in that way. So in the meantime, you can go to extremehealthradio.com/voicemail, and right from your computer, you can send a voicemail to us that we can play on the air. So feel free to do that. And Adam, before the break, we were talking a little bit about the ice cube, and I was curious about if you could just expand on that. You were talking about how the ice cube wouldn't melt if there were no impurities in the water. Is that right?
Yes, the secret of longevity is have a cool head and a hot butt. Most people
I love it.
have a cold butt and a hot head. That's why they're called hotheads. The purpose of meditation is actually to cool off the brain, as humorous as it sounds.
So that's the purpose of meditation, is to cool off the brain and sort of clear the mind, right?
Cool the brain, and the silicone in the brain, just like in a computer, cools it down. So having a certain amount of silica in your diet is very important for a meditator. In fact, silica also is important for the bones. It's what makes it hard. When you get a paper cut or get a cactus stuck in you, that's the silicon that makes it so hard that it penetrates the skin. And the same in our bone, it's what keeps the bones from getting holy. That's a Holy, not holy like holy person.
Wow. So silica is really important for meditation as well as for the brain and for the ligaments and joints and things.
Yes, too much now can tend to put a person toward cancer, so they shouldn't overdo it in the silica. But if they eat it at the right time of the day and it's balanced with food, and of course a food is a perfect supplement. Like a tomato may have 5,000 elements in it that you can't get in a regular supplement. So that's why food is so important. It is balanced. Nature has been doing this for millennia, while chemists, have only been around for 300 or 400 years.
Right. Now, it seems to me like, so do you take supplements? I heard recently that Jack LaLanne took over 100 pills a day as supplements and things. And do you take some? I'm sure you take some supplements, right?
Every once in a while I take them. I don't take many supplements because I eat right. Now, there's a time for supplements, especially when people go to veganism. If they don't understand how to balance the body out, because you can get B12 through organic food in trace amounts, and if you know how to get them, you can get some actual bioavailable B12 from chlorella. You can't get any from spirulina, but you can get it from chlorella, you can get it from mushrooms, some mushrooms, and the variety differs. But if you don't know that, then you can get in trouble, and a person might think of supplementing with a B12, for instance. The trouble is cyanocobalamin, the type you usually buy in the health food store, can cause blindness. Certain people get blind very quickly by taking it. Most people have no problem with it. Then methylcobalamin, which is one that seems to be popular now, has its own toxicity issues. In fact, when you're only supposed to get 3 micrograms of B12, 3 or 4 a day is the RDA, and you take 5,000 micrograms, they tell you that there's no side effects. Well, there are side effects, and it's like using a hammer and a crowbar to repair a watch instead of a pair of tweezers or whatever else you have to do that.
You know, it's interesting with
there is a time for vitamins sometimes. If you absolutely can't get the food you need, then there's a time. You know, a little zinc for a cold, B12 for certain purposes, and niacin for a niacin flush. Like, for instance, if a person gets a snake bite, a poisonous snake bite, they could take up to 3,000 milligrams of niacin, backed up by at least 1/3 or 2/3 the amount of vitamin C, and then they can avoid and neutralize the toxin. Or 1,000 milligrams of niacin can actually neutralize poison oak, poison ivy, if you get to it early enough. So there's a purpose for supplements. I just prefer to use food as an implement and supplement as something supplemental.
Wow, so what does niacin do inside the body? It's really detoxifying, I guess?
Well, if you take niacin, it's good to get it out of food and use it as a medicine, because if a person takes niacin regularly in large amounts, like Dirk Pearson and Sandy Shaw used to recommend, they waterlog the tissue, and also you turn off the part that will neutralize the snake venom or neutralize the poison oak, or even a rabid dog if you take enough. But it actually turns that off because your body develops a tolerance for it, and it goes into a food modality instead of a medicine modality. So certain things like niacin and colloidal silver and things like that are meant as medicines to be used when you get sick, not as a nutritional supplement like some people take them. Now, a little bit of niacin, that's okay, but I prefer to get my niacin from something like rice bran syrup.
Wow.
If I take 50 milligrams of niacin that I buy from the store, it won't necessarily make me flush. But if I take 2 milligrams of it in a teaspoon of rice bran syrup, it will make me flush because it has the cofactors that give me more bang for the buck. So I'd rather take it out of food and use my medicine and herbs as backup systems. And so they're important. I keep some supplements handy in case I do need them.
That makes sense, and I think that's one of the main reasons what's wrong with the pharmaceutical industries is all of their drugs are missing the cofactors, and they're synthesized and all of that, and that's probably the same thing as taking a supplement. In some sense, at least a supplement's more natural, but it is missing all the cofactors when you isolate these nutrients. And I like what you're doing with food. Because you have that whole thing with a cobalamin tonic where you get your B12 through, what is that, a coffee?
Cinnamon? No, agave?
It's coffee, cocoa, and maple syrup.
That's right. And it's
a hormone booster rocket.
And you get the B12 through that food, through the chemical interactions of those three things?
There's a minor amount of B12 in coffee and in cocoa. Now, there's 2 types of B12, a so-called bioavailable one and a so-called pseudo B12. Well, pseudo B12, it turns out, is a cofactor for regular B12. So you won't find a bioavailable type of B12 in the coffee, but you will find a pseudo B12 that will turn on your stomach and still prevent Alzheimer's disease. They now know that B12 is involved in Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease and dementia.
Wow.
So B12 effect can be given and accentuate your use of the actual B12. Now, it's easy for a meat eater to get B12 out of eggs or someone who takes dairy to get it. Much harder for a vegan, but they can do it. A vegan needs to know what they're doing to do it. For instance, in organic food, you get some of the B12 from the cow manure that is actually bioassimilated by the plant in various amounts, and you get it. But when you buy a typical food at the supermarket, you don't get that effect. You don't get B12 from it if it's not organic.
Wow.
The artificial fertilizers actually block it. In fact, if you buy beets and spinach that is not organic, they can have as much as 200 times the nitrites in it, the very nitrites people avoid with sandwich meat and things of that nature. It has much more because they're nitrogen hungry. They will gobble it up, and when you use a commercial fertilizer, it's like a bulldog. It'll eat itself to death, and of course, it's passed on to the human beings. That's why cooked spinach will accentuate the nitrites in it, and spinach poisoning is very common among children, especially if you leave it out at room temperature. So mothers and fathers who tell their child they can't leave the table till they eat their cooked spinach are actually making their child sick. And some children have died from spinach poisoning. Spinach is much better eaten raw, by the way.
So is there any way in which nitrites can't be harmful for you, or are they all just, you want to stay away from all of them?
If you eat the nitrites with the time-appropriate vitamin C foods, so if I eat my nitrogen in an almond, it's actually a cancer preventative, and I eat it with a vitamin C food. Now, in midday, a perfect thing to eat with my protein, if it's meat, I could get it from that. If it's beans, I can get it from that. If it's seeds, I can get it from that, is to combine it with a vitamin C vegetable. And most of your green vegetables or your red vegetables, your tomato is ideal, have vitamin C to go with it. At nighttime, I would take my iron food like beet, and which has very high in nitrogen, especially if I don't get an organic one, and I would combine it with a vitamin C fruit that was nighttime, and that is only two major fruits that people eat. It's the pineapple and the dragon fruit. Also, if you eat a cactus pear, that is a nighttime food too. There's not many fruits at nighttime.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kate.
Oh, so how does this, I was just curious, how does this work for juicing then? Because juicing is obviously supposed to be so healthy, and a lot of people do juice fasts. Are there certain, you probably go into this in your book. If not, I'd love to ask you anyway, but are there certain types of juices to do at certain times with certain vegetables and fruits and to leave out others? Or can you kind of throw it all in? And I'm sure that isn't the case. I'm sure it needs to be separated still, right?
Vegetables are mostly builders. The fruits are the true cleansers. They basically chlorinate you with a healthy form of chlorination. The chlorination you drink in the water actually will block the pineal gland, just like fluorine does, and interrupt your consciousness. Of course, that was known by the Nazis back in the day when they used fluoride to do that. And now we have the chlorine in the water that does that too.
Right.
But the chlorine you get in an onion, which is a nighttime chlorine, is good for your sex life and good for your liver. So it's almost in a homeopathic form, but not quite. More similar to cell salts, which are not truly homeopathic.
So do you yourself...
They're kind of in between the mezzanine level of nutrition.
So, Adam, do you yourself do any juicing these days, or not much?
Not too much. We get it mostly from just eating the fruits and vegetables, and I've done them in the past. I do drink some pineapple juice at night. I get a good brand of organic pineapple juice at the health food store, and I have a particular drink that's good for your hormones, which is a teaspoon to a tablespoon of 100% agave tequila mixed in with pineapple juice and a little bit of aloe, and that makes a hormone booster.
And so what will that affect both men and women in the respective ways that they need to be helped?
Yes, there's different ways to to be healthy that way. Like a person who doesn't or objects to alcohol doesn't have to drink it, because there's many ways to balance hormones. In fact, some people think that cobalamin tonic, the coffee, cocoa, and maple syrup, is some kind of necessity for solar nutrition. It isn't. If a person objects to that, there's many other ways to build hormones. The umeboshi plum is the classic Oriental way of doing it, and you can make a mixture of tamarind, either in a paste form or the whole tamarind seed, and you can combine that with maple syrup again, and you can combine that with carob and get a very similar hormone reaction. It's just that coffee works better, and it's easier to get when you're on the road.
Yeah, that's
some
true.
Cocoa, just mix it in with the maple syrup and drink it.
So what was that drink again? It was with the agave tequila and then the pineapple juice.
It has to be 100% agave. If you see on some tequilas, it will say, made with agave. Don't buy it, because it means it's 51% agave at the most and 49% grain alcohol, which will block it. When you take true 100% agave tequila, it actually will give you vitamin C. Other alcohols destroy the vitamin C by the alcoholic process. But tequila is very unusual when it's made correctly out of agave. 100% blue agave, it will sometimes say, or 100% agave, and you mix a teaspoon, is all it takes, into, say, 6 or 8 ounces of pineapple juice, and you add a little bitty pinch of aloe. Don't take too much aloe. People who over-abuse aloe can actually depress their immune reaction and response, and even end up with bowel problems if they particularly eat certain parts of the plant.
Wow, that's crazy. So is that recipe laid out in one of your ebooks?
I believe it is. It's probably in the Full Spectrum Eating book.
And
I know it's in the Full Spectrum Food List, which is a huge list of foods and the times to eat them.
Nice.
Okay,
that's the most complete food list on the planet at this point. That all deals with the timing and the elements that are in each individual foods.
So that's the Full Spectrum Eating Time Sequence Food List that's available on your website. That's amazing.
Exactly the one, the giant one.
Yeah. Wow. So people can download these ebooks straight to their computers. Is that right?
We send it out to them as basically a file that's in an ebook format.
Wow.
And then they have that list. And by the way, I recommend people who are computer literate, if they use the find button, if they attempt to read the food list from front to back, they will find out that they can't locate things easily because there's no index. But with the find button, say they want to know what foods to take for diabetes, they would simply click in diabet, leaving out the I or the E. That way you would get anything that said diabetes, diabetic, anti-diabetic, etc., and you would know all of the foods to take it, or for glucose, or for vitamin C, or for whatever. You could go through the entire list and find what you needed within a matter of minutes.
Wow. So
that's why it works much better than having a paperback or hardback version of a book where you would have great difficulty tailoring it to your particular condition.
Wow,
so the book is specifically designed, and the words for it, like purgative and things like that, are defined at the bottom so you can locate them easier, and I don't have to write out a sentence describing what purgative or a diuretic is.
Wow, that's amazing. So in this book, you have all the complete list of foods, herbs, supplements, essential oils, and everything like that, homeopathic remedies, and even drugs that people can sort of categorize into certain time zones for when they should eat them.
I couldn't have said it better.
Wow,
perfect.
Awesome.
That's great stuff. And
that's crazy.
Yeah, that whole search feature is really great. Thing you can do on PDF documents and things. You can just do a little search and find exactly what you're looking for if you know how to search. And That's one of the reasons why we are transcribing all of our shows, Adam, is so that people can go onto our website and, search whatever they're interested in, but it will bring up a whole encyclopedia of anytime any guest has mentioned that particular word, so they can kind of do some research themselves and find out what guests have said. And it kind of works the same as your ebook. I just think it's really great what we have access to these days, isn't it?
It's excellent. It's freed me from libraries forever, because now with a Google search, I can go back and find books back from the 1700s and 1800s and find out what they were thinking then. And people were wiser then in many ways, and they knew more about health, because instead of looking at the human body through a microscope, they used common sense and just looked at the body and analyzed it as a body, not as constituent parts.
Right. Because
we're not a liver cell and a heart cell. We are a heart and a liver all in cooperation like a community.
Yeah, it makes.
And so, unfortunately, our science has become fractionalized and separate from each other. A gentleman once came to me with two problems. He had a rash on the bottom of his foot, and he had a kidney disorder. Well, it turned out that the rash on the bottom of his foot was exactly at the kidney point in his foot reflexology.
Wow.
And the kidney problem and that were both solved by drinking cranberry juice at kidney time between 5 to 7, which targeted the problem, and removing the emotional trauma. With kidney, it's usually a fear issue or sometimes a peed off issue.
Oh, wow.
In case the other word is not acceptable on radio.
No, yeah, wow, that's just it's so interesting. All the different research you're into, and we got to wrap it up here. But what kinds of things are you working on? Any projects? Any special ways that you're helping people these days?
Just general research, and at this point, when people come up with questions, I pretty well answer those. So I have various clients. I still do some consultations by Skype on body language. My body language is usually, or is about 80% physical, but some people are very optically active, so I can actually use Skype and read their body language and tell where the traumas are. People who have male traumas tend to have problems on the left side of their face, and female traumas on the right side. So it's just like mind reading. When a person talks, you can see exactly who is the matter with them.
Wow, who is the matter with them? I love it.
That's the primary thing.
Yeah.
Then comes when is the matter with a person, and then only last comes what is the matter with the person.
Wow. So people can go on your website, solarman111.com, and contact you for a Skype consultation?
Yes, they can.
Wow, that's great. And you have your School of Conscious Living as well. That's people can follow you on Facebook for that. And what kinds of things are you doing with that?
Well, it again has a lot to do with questions. Now, my basic research is longevity. And in fact, one of my pet peeves is the people doing longevity research are often in their 30s and the 40s. We need to ask people like the Turban Tornado, this man over 100 years old who's running marathon races, and he's a vegetarian and eats lots of fruit, how he did it. And in fact, if you look at the super centenarians, people who live over 100, or the Chinese man who lived to 250 years or so, what were they doing? What are they doing? Not look through a microscope and see how many calorie deprivations make a mouse live an extra 2 months.
Right.
Look at human beings.
Right.
We should reward them. We should give them several $1 million for making it over 100 and give them extra money to be a subject for laboratory research to find out what the heck did they do to stay alive so long.
I love it. I love that. Maybe
even me, I'm a young puppy at 72, so don't ask me how to live long. Ask the 100-year-old.
Well, you've got another 50 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Hopefully 150.
Yeah.
I have some insights that I've gathered from, because I've studied the supercentenarians and the people who have lived a long time. You know, there was a strong man back in the day, lived into his 80s, and he could lift an elephant with a rider off the ground.
Oh, my gosh.
That's the kind of people I'm interested in. The people who basically are superhumans or who have abilities that we don't normally attribute to human beings.
Wow.
The Russians call that anthropomaximology, the maximum that a human being can do. And that's the exceptional is what interests me. The cosmic initiate doesn't live a life of statistics. They live the life of the exception to the rule.
Oh, I love that.
Love it.
And that's the 1% of the exception to the rule is what I'm interested in. That's where my research spearheads.
Wow. Yeah. Perhaps on the next show, we can talk about anti-aging and longevity, and because who doesn't want to feel good and look good and have tons of energy and all of that up in, in their 90s and beyond, right?
Like the man said, the trick is to die young at a very old age, or even live beyond that. A lot of people, they say, why should I live longer? I'm all sick and everything like that. That doesn't have to be. Look at people like Gypsy Boots and Jack LaLanne. Jack LaLanne said, I'm not going to rust out, I'm going to wear out.
That's the way to go
out.
out.
And he was exercising till the day he left.
I love it.
Or the founder of Aikido. His last act was to get up, throw 10 of his students to the ground, then lie down and leave the planet.
Yeah, that's the way to go, right? That's really what we're after.
That's the way to go. Instead of being a vegetable and sit around on one's duff.
I hear you. Well, thanks, Adam, so much for being on. Would you mind holding the line for just a moment?
I would love to. Excellent. And thanks for having me on, Justin and Kate.
Pleasure.
So welcome. All right. What did you think about Mr. Bergstrom today, Kate?
Just what I thought last time. That guy is a wealth of knowledge, and I feel like we haven't even touched on a small percentage of what is going on in his brain and how much he knows. He's a brilliant man. Yeah, and you can see all the ebooks that he's written, and he's written a ton of them. And it's almost like he has the ancient secrets of how they built the pyramids or something. You know what I mean? Like, he's got so much information that he's getting from libraries and from online research, from books that are written in the 1700s. It's nuts. And almost what he said too. I mean, he seems to absorb and download some of those as he's eaten more how do you say that? Chronobiologic or chronobiotic. Solar eating chronobiotically. Yeah. I do believe that as you start clearing, you start obtaining and downloading stuff a lot easier. Yeah. He's fascinating. If I was on a desert island, that's who I'd want with me. That's besides you. Am I a close second? Close runner-up. Just kidding. No, but Adam he's just, oh man, that guy's fascinating. Yeah, he's really interesting. And I just think that's so, I mean, just everything that he was saying about how your body and your mind can sort of download information like that. I mean, it just fascinates me because why do some people just get these revelations and things with their inspiration? All of a sudden they're driving down the road and they get this incredible inspiration to do something. And some people will be in the shower and maybe they're a writer, and they're just hearing the entire conversation of a book that they want to write. That just happens automatically for no reason at some time. And I don't know. I suspect that the way our cells resonate inside of our bodies, I mean, I think there's probably something to that. Yeah, I do too. I think we haven't even begun to touch on that, really. No. And so I hope that you enjoyed the interview, and I hope you got a lot out of it. Mr. Bergstrom is a great guy and just an amazing example of what you can be doing at his age. And like he said, he's just a young guy at 72. And really, if you're going to live to 120, I mean, that's pretty young, right? Yep. 72. And, you see people that are 72 and, a lot of them are in wheelchairs or they're diabetic or, it's just really great to see a shining example of someone who just took care of themselves and is really living with passion because, you see the average 72-year-old out there. If they're alive.
It's not looking good.
It's not looking good.
No, and
sadly, I'm not laughing. It's sad.
No, it's But so the key is to start now, take care of yourself now, so that you can give back to the world in a way that only you can. And I want to thank you for joining us on this edition here of Extreme Health Radio. This is episode number 89, so you can find it at extremehealthradio.com/89. And make sure to check out our website /voicemail to leave a voicemail for one of our guests ever. If you have a question for our guests that you'd like played on the air, that would be a great thing to do. And you can also support us many ways. You can check out our store. We've got about 75 different products on there, all cutting-edge health-related products and appliances and things. And what else have we got?
They're legit.
They are legitimate.
As we say in the business.
In the business. Or on the streets, I believe.
As we say.
You're
that. Right. That's more of a street a street term.
In the hood.
In the hood.
That's what we say, in the hood.
That's right.
No, but we've got lots of great stuff on our store, so make sure to check that out. And what else? You can follow us on Facebook. That would be a great thing. Love to have you aboard our community. And you can join our mailing list. We send out about once a week. And like I said earlier in the show, you can support us by shopping on Amazon through our link, extremehealthradio.com/Amazon.
And donations are always gladly appreciated and accepted. Thank you guys for making it possible for us to be able to keep doing this.
Oh, man. Isn't
right
that
now?
Yeah, we couldn't live without your donations. And if you have a couple extra dollars, please don't think that that's not enough to donate. You can donate $2 or $3 even, and people do that, and it really helps. Because we're looking to buy some more equipment to improve the quality of the show and do lots of things like perhaps maybe doing a live show, and all of that costs money. So if you're interested in supporting our work and like what we're doing, feel free to send us a couple dollars or whatever you can, whenever you can. That would be helpful. But if not, I know the economy's rough right now, and so just send our link to your friends if you have loved ones you care about and think they'd be interested in this information or think they should hear it. Send our link to them. That would be helpful.
Be great.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And any final words, Kate?
Oh,
put you on the spot?
No, not really.
Not really. Yeah, we just we'll be talking about this show on the Free for All Friday show coming up.
And I'll be thinking about it all day today. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, we're going to go out